let's refocus here. Okay. Okay. So we're going to start first with common denominators, adding and subtracting with common denominators. These would not be problems that, guys, can you stop? These would not be problems that I would choose to put in my calculator. If I see problems like these, I'd be like, sweet, I can do those really quickly. It depends on your comfort level with fractions. I mean, obviously I'm a math teacher, but I think that most of you guys could be comfortable with these if you are reminded of what we need to do with them. So add and subtract fractions with common denominators. What's the rule for these? Do you guys remember? Add the top and then do what with the bottoms? Leave it. So you don't actually do anything with the bottoms. So you're going to add or subtract depending on what it's asking you to do. And then we just leave the bottoms. I think this would be faster to do by hand than put it in my calculator. However, if I have zero confidence in my fraction skills, maybe you want to put it in your calculator. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. I want you to get the right answer. So if I'm adding 5 plus 7 plus 1, I just add across the top, I would get 13 over 8. Now depending on, and is that simplified? 13 over 8. You can always check in your calculator, you can put 13 over 8 in. It is, they don't have a common factor. You can leave it that way. If I asked you to convert it back to an improper or proper fraction, then we would go back to our other steps where I'd say how many times does 8 go into 13? Be 1 time. And then 1 is, times 8 is 5 short of 13. So being able to do that conversion, it just depends on what I'm asking for. This might be just fine. I just have to kind of check what the directions say. If it says write it as a proper fraction, then we have to do the second. Okay, it just kind of depends what they're looking for. I think that is easier than putting in my calculator, but some of you guys might disagree. You might just be so used to just grabbing it and doing that, and that's fine. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to take your calculator for parts of the test or parts of your homework. It just isn't reasonable, and like, again, real world math, like what are you going to do in your everyday life? If you're going to grab your calculator, you might as well be good at it. So 5 6 minus 1 6, another one. I probably would not grab a calculator for this. Subtract the tops this time. So 5 minus 1 is 4, 6. However, I see both of these numbers are even. That tells me what about this? You can simplify it. I can divide them each by 2. Whoops, that was a really ugly divide by 2 there. I don't know. So this would be 2 over 3. But if you put this into your calculator, it's possible your calculator just gives you this outcome right away. So you might decide, why do any writing by hand? I'm just going to put it in my calculator. Okay? The next thing I want to show you guys is what we call equivalent fractions. So understanding that these two values should be the same. So 3 over 6 should be the same as something over 24. So this is like rewriting it in a way that maybe would be helpful for some reason or another. So basically, whatever I do at the bottom, I have to do at the top. So I have to kind of be equivalent here. So we're trying to make something be the same. How does 6 become 24? Times what? Times 4. Okay. If I do that to the bottom, that's what I have to do to the top as well. So I'm going to do 3 times 4, which would give me 12. So in the box here, I would put 12. And if you think about that, 3 over 6 is a half, 12 over 24 is a half, kind of reasonable outcome. Now this next one looks a little bit tougher. Because 13 is not a number I'm super comfortable with in terms of like my factors. So you can either guess and check and find a number. Otherwise, what's like a one-step way to know for sure, what do I multiply 13 by to get 91?
7.
It's 7. How'd you guys get that? You can actually go backwards. So I can take 91 and divide it by 13, and you get 7. So 13 times 7 is 91. So up here, I need to also multiply by 7. So 4 times 7 would be 28. So being able to kind of rewrite those fractions and understanding that that's an equivalent fraction that's a helpful thing as we talk about common denominators. And that's our last thing we're talking about here today. And then I'm going to give you guys time for homework. Sorry, homework needs another staple. It's the, the fight with this copy machine.
I promise I won't break the staple this time.
Right, I know. Yeah, seriously. Like 3 for 3, I think, like, what happens to you then? I think you need to. I think you need to buy me a new stapler. All right.
It's gonna be little, but
What?
Do you want my stapler?
Oh, sure, if you want. I don't trust Clayton either.
wow.
Let me grab the homework.
That's
I'm
rude.
gonna walk around the opposite.
You will.
No.
You disrespect women. I didn't know.
Whoa, we just got like.
No,
I feel like you feel very strong.
This is just a joke.
No, he
Right,
said
like,
that
you
during
guys-
at lunchtime. He said this during lunchtime.
Yeah, I know.
You
Like
sure you
something off.
Okay,
Make it new.
You need water.
so unlike denominators, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, this is probably where I would anticipate hardly any of you being like, yeah, give me, paper, pencil, let's go to town on these unlike denominators. I'm assuming most of you guys would probably prefer to just put this into your calculator. Your calculator will do all the work for you. It will find a common denominator and it will add them. So, because in order to add and subtract, they need the same denominator. Put it on your desk. I have a stapler.
Oh, I thought it broke.
No, I was just teasing him. He's dropped it twice.
Jeez.
I said if he dropped it a third time, then he owes me a new one.
I'll break my own staple next time. How about that? If I break my own. Just buy one of those cheap mini staplers. I have one of those. Use it. It's at home.
Or you can just not drop mine.
Maybe
All right, so you need a common denominator. So if you want to take the time to change both of these bottoms and then add, change the tops, do kind of all the work with that. I'm assuming most of you guys would not want to do this. This is a place where I'm okay with you actually just going ahead and adding them in your calculator. But you need to make sure you know how to add them correctly. So you need a common denominator, but your calculator does that work for you. So if you want to use your calculator, you can. I can show you how to do this by hand. Is anyone dying to do it by hand? Yeah, okay, let me show you. So the rest of you guys feel free to check our work as you guys grab your calculator. So we have to look at the 4 and 6 and determine what's their common denominator. So 4 and 6 can both become what? 12. Yeah, that's the smallest number they can both become. So we're going to make them both into a 12. 4 doesn't go into 6, but 6 goes into 12, and so does 4. If I change the bottoms, I have to change the tops. So 4 times 3, and then 1 times 3. So this top is going to become 3 twelfths. Here I'm going to multiply by 2. I want to give you more of our homecoming brainstorming here. So 10 twelfths. I know. All right, so now we're going to add the tops. So 3 and 10 would be 13, and then 12. So this is what we have to do by hand. Now, if you guys are doing this in your calculator, it probably calls this 1 and 1/12. Either answer is fine with me. So either or is perfectly okay with me. If the book says one way or the other, you probably want to follow the book's directions. But if you're like, holy cow, I'm not going to be able to do that, that's not sustainable for me for a whole homework assignment, it's fine. I mean, it's up to you guys what you guys want to do. I'll do this one by hand as well, just so you can see it. This one's a little bit nicer because 5 goes into 10. So I can change the second one into a 10 by multiplying by 2. So we're going to subtract the tops and then just leave the bottom. All right. So again, it's up to you guys if you want to use a calculator or not. Again, not taking a calculator away from you and giving it back and taking it, it's not worth my time. It's what you guys are comfortable with. Can you work between these different things? Make sense?